Yo, what's up, guys? CFCDP here, just here to check in. Yeah, easier to do a little bit of a live stream sometimes. Kind of talk about today's happenings with Chelsea. Sorry if you hear my dog back there, Maisie. She's kind of crazy. Um, so yeah, you might even see her in the back. But a little bit just on what we're going to talk about today. Overall, I think that Chelsea's in a good spot. Um, they're in a good spot because you go up and you beat Southampton, you know, a really tough team in the Carabao Cup. Both have a lot of rotation and whatnot. And there's a bit of, worry over how we beat them and not. And people got to be realistic that this is our backups in there right now. What's up, Chelsea Perspective? Great guy. Go check out his channels. I'm always on there too. We do a lot of good stuff in the mornings. We did one really early for Norwich, so that was a bit stressful, but we got it done. Yeah. Anyways, so when we're talking about Chelsea as a whole and how they're going to move into the weekend against Newcastle, I think we have to be very careful about how they're going to be going into Newcastle because it's going to be a completely different environment. Sorry, I'm just tweeting out the link now. Give me a sec here. Sorry for everyone that's watching. I'm just tweeting out the links for this, so just give me 1 minute. And if you are watching and you do actually want to come on and talk a little Chelsea, I'm going to be opening it up to everybody. All right. So if you go to my Twitter account, CFCDP, you will see a tweet there, and there's going to be one link, and it's going to be to join in, and one link is going to be to just watch. So however that works for you, go for it. Just want to get a little bit of an open forum going here. Anyways, so moving on to Newcastle, I think that you need to look at how Chelsea is planning on going about this game because you had Kai Havertz play the full 90 minutes. And when he's in playing the full 90 minutes and your striker depth is what it is, you have to be a little concerned about how he's going to go on the road to Newcastle. Despite Newcastle not being that good of a squad overall, you know, they're going to be coming with something to play. This is their first game after firing Steve Bruce. So being able to be aggressive and score early is going to be very important because we saw how they were once they played Spurs, and we're not Spurs by any stretch of the imagination, but when they played Spurs, they were in a point where the crowd was behind them, and it was a really tough first 10 minutes for Spurs. They went down, but they eventually came good in the last, whatever the rest of the game was. So getting off to a good start is going to be really important for Chelsea, I think. I think that that's been a problem for Chelsea so far this season. I think Tuchel has not set up his team in a great spot to set up. He's made really good in-game adjustments, however. So this is a little bit different because it's going to be really important to start well because you know what? Who knows? Who knows what Newcastle's going to hold with under their new manager. It is a promotion for their interim manager, so I can't imagine it's going to be extreme chopping and changing for them, but you never know. Chelsea Perspective, we have to be careful at Newcastle. I know last year we struggled there too. I was just going to look up the I was just gonna look up what our history is against them. I can't imagine in the last couple of years. I think it's been pretty difficult. Let's take a look here. I want to give you good information. So nil won both years, um, or both times last year. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. And then the previous year, we lost to them 1-0 on the road. And then 2 years prior, we lost 3-0. And then 3 years later, it was 2-2. So overall, I mean, we've pretty much had them at bay, to be honest with you. But it's going to be an interesting environment for Chelsea to step into, especially with the injuries at hand. So let's see here. So just a little bit of the news and notes from today in the world of Chelsea. Christian Pulisic was in training today for the first time in a while. He's been training a little bit individually over the last probably couple weeks. He had a minor setback. I know Tuchel said when he was asked about him. So it'll be interesting to see what Christian Pulisic is able to bring to the table at that point. So yeah, it's no big deal. With him, I can't imagine that he's going to start against Newcastle. He may play, which would be nice to see. So if he can do that, it'd be good to get him some minutes because we do play Malmo as well in the Champions League at Malmo. So that may be a really good opportunity to get him some starting minutes. Maybe have him run 60 minutes. So if he can do that, I think it would be impressive for him to, kind of get behind. So I'm just trying to get this out a little bit more. So we will see what Christian Pulisic can bring to the table, because I think like overall, when you look at what this team kind of lacks, it is that creativity in the box. So having creativity in the box is going to be massive for us going forward, especially without Lukaku. But you know what? It's kind of been funny because people have said in the past that Lukaku, they don't want to say we're more fluid without Lukaku, but I think at this point, it's almost a given that we are a little more fluid because I don't think Tuchel has used this as a good opportunity to kind of space out everyone, to be honest with you, because Lukaku has pretty much been a target man, but that's what teams are just going to do against us. So if you're going to have Lukaku sitting back against the back line, you're going to have people create and get him the ball in creative ways. I just look at that his goal against Arsenal as like the most perfect way to get him the ball in a good spot. So if you look how that play breaks down as a whole, it's Lukaku holding the ball up, getting it to the midfield, and then passing it off to Reece, who's going in on the far side. Now, Arsenal was a little bit shaky in terms of their defense at that day, so it wasn't necessarily something that was super, super impressive necessarily. But those are the opportunities you got to look for. If those inside midfielders are pinching in, Reece, Chilwell, Alonso, Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi, whoever's playing a wingback spot needs to be able to push in and get Lukaku the ball that way, because he's like a bull in a china shop running right down the middle. And I agree with what Chelsea's perspective said. Pulisic and Cho they're probably the two most direct players on the squad. It's not even necessarily like I can't, like, to be honest with you, there's no one that is as direct as them, and their ability to show up and make moves is what's good and bad. Pulisic, it's bad sometimes because he just tries to run right through the defense, dribble through, and make stuff happen. And when he does make that stuff happen, it's magical to see. He is fantastic when he does that. But overall, Hudson-Odoi, on the other hand, is really impressive. And what impressed me the most, I think, about that Southampton game was his ability to do it from the right wing back spot. He was getting so far up on that right-hand side, and he made actually a lot of good chances for our available players. For Kai and whoever else was in the box at the time. So I'd like to see that on a more consistent basis, bringing the ball on the side, because I think when Lukaku comes back, I think it's going to be ever more important, because that's our formula of scoring goals. I mean, you can only excuse me, you can only like go so far to say that's how we score most of our goals. Like most of our goals go in from the wings and they're across to the middle, and it's pretty much like a tap in. Like, not too many of our goals are not like that. What's up, Almighty Blues? How's it going? He had an awesome stream earlier. I checked in on that. Please go to his YouTube channel. You can just search Almighty Blues FC and you'll be able to find his awesome video from today. So overall, it was impressive. It'll be impressive to see that more from Callum and those wingback spots, as well as Reese. So yeah. Other news. So it'll be interesting to see how the injury bug gets back to Chelsea this weekend. I know there was several players out for the Southampton match. I know Romelu Lukaku and Timo were not involved in training today. Romelo's been active on social media, so we've seen him actually posting some pictures, and he seems like he's in good spirits. Ruben Loftus-Cheek trained on his own today, away from the rest of the squad. He hasn't fully overcome his hip issue. I think that they're going to be extra careful with Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Obviously, we all know his injury concerns and history, so keeping him at 100% is good, but it almost sucks because he was on such a good run of form, and taking even 2-3 matches off the pitch, that can get you out of the squad for an extended period of time if someone steps in and says, hey, I'm in this spot. I mean, I'm not sure that we will see anyone outside of Conte, Jorginho, and Kovacic in the midfield against Newcastle. I don't foresee that we could see Saul there. So Ruben's spot is probably fine, but Saul put in a nice performance in the Carabao Cup. So it's definitely possible that, as long as Ruben's out, there's opportunities for other guys to get in there. I think that, all right, and then other injuries. Azpilicueta, thank God, was back in training today. Christensen back in training today. And N'Golo Kante in training today. So we should be looking for those three to get minutes in the game against Newcastle. And Almighty Blues chiming in and saying that, we need to see some creativity against Newcastle away. I agree completely. I think you're going to see a very defensive style from Newcastle in that game. I think that their worst case scenario is what happens against Spurs, and they get out to a lead and then it's kind of just that's it. You know what I mean? They're just going to get attacked from there on out. So I could definitely see Newcastle. Ooh, man, I've been yawning a lot. Sorry. It'll be interesting to see how Newcastle decides to set up against us. I don't think that they're going to try and make it a goal fest, because they will lose that battle more times than not. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that breaks down. So a little bit more into the transfer aspect of Chelsea. We always know that there's transfer stories coming out. And today, James Ollie came out and said that Chelsea and our opponents, Newcastle, funny enough, are among a number of clubs interested in signing Real Madrid star Eden Hazard in January. So, yeah, I think that people are really conflicted about Eden Hazard. I think when in terms of a footballer, I think that his form lately has been limited, obviously because of injury. But you cannot deny that when he was at Chelsea and with our medical staff, his injuries were a little more limited, and he was really good. So it's pretty much a Tuchel thing at this point. I don't foresee if Tuchel doesn't want him that it'll happen. I don't know. There's been so many talks about Abramovich wanting Eden Hazard back, and he's the owner. So if he wanted to bring him back, I think he could make it happen, obviously. But overall, I think that he would be a good move if it was on our terms. If he was able to come back and be sort of like a super sub for us, I think that would be ideal and start games because, like, you know what, like we could probably use him now. I mean, Ziyech hasn't been that great. Pulisic was hurt. Callum is, I don't know, in limbo with Tuchel. So it's definitely a possibility that Hazard is able to come in and definitely secure some minutes from us. And I think it would be interesting to see how he would handle that role being off the bench from time to time, because he, just like anybody, he can catch a run of form and he could start a lot of games, but I don't want to take a step back and bringing back a club legend where it messes up our plans. Because you look at what Manchester United has done with Ronaldo, and they were in actually a really, really, really good spot. I thought with Greenwood, they had that veteran and Cavani up top. But now you look at what they're in, and they had to change their entire team for Ronaldo and their entire system. And I don't think that they were prepared to do that. I think they didn't want Manchester City to have Ronaldo that bad that they made the calls and they made it happen. So overall, is that going to happen to Chelsea? Now, Eden Hazard doesn't necessarily change your system like a Cristiano Ronaldo would up top. He wouldn't. It would be a little bit more of a seamless transition, in my opinion, because we already have players that kind of play like him, Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi, and whatnot. So we're familiar with the playing style of a player like that. So, as I mentioned, if it is on our terms, I think that it might be something that Chelsea need to consider, especially if the injury bug is going to be continuing to haunt us. Chelsea Perspective echoes that, saying that there's a considerable risk involved in bringing him back. And I think that that's completely right. And I think you have to take a very, very cautious look at it, because you do not want to take a step back. You do not. And especially at what financial cost is it's going to come to Chelsea. If Real Madrid are wanting 30, 40 million for him, I don't think that's what you do. But if it's a point where Eden Hazard is coming back and it's not financially hampering what you want to do with your other moves, such as bringing in a Declan Rice or a Tchouaméni next summer, or whatever it is that's on their agenda, it doesn't make sense to do. But if it's simply, hey, we're going to take this guy back and it's going to be very, cost-effective move, add some depth, he's okay with coming off the bench, there's a lot of ifs that got to go into it for him to be in the right position, I think, for us to be successful with him coming back. So Almighty Blue says he's not in favor of getting Eden Hazard back, but he wouldn't be against it if the legend is open to playing a squad role, and he's just finishes and says as a start. And I couldn't agree more with him, because at the start, that's going to has to be what it is. If he proves us wrong, he can stay healthy and he can be the Eden Hazard of old. I don't think that they'll have any problem giving him starts. I don't think Tuchel would have any problems. He would solve a lot of issues that we have offensively if he is able to do that from the start. Is that going to happen, though? That's the risk that you have to weigh. So I guess the two factors are, what is his role going to be with the club, and how does the financial aspect of it affect what you're planning on doing in the summer? Because that is tenfold of bringing Eden Hazard back for this season, because we have a good enough team to win any competition that we're in, especially when everyone's healthy. How far does Eden Hazard move the needle for you to win a title? That's the question that, needs to be addressed. And that's the question that we don't know. We wouldn't know until he got here. I mean, with our defensive record and our solidity, you don't suggest that many teams are going to be able to score on us unless we're in terrible form. And you would suggest that with Lukaku and our offense, we would be able to score goals. So to me, it's a matter of, do you need that X factor? Does Tuchel think that he's a guy short on offense to give you that killer goal, that killer pass, beat a man off the dribble? Will it depend on how Hudson-Odoi fares until January? Will it depend on Pulisic's health? It might, but it might just be Roman Abramovich saying, I want this guy. And that might be it. And Tuchel might say, well, we have him here. You know, at a point, I have to say to Abramovich, we're not going to change everything that we're doing here because you want him. It's a really complicated thing because Roman Abramovich gives everything to this club that they need to be successful. And then on the other hand, Tuchel has to say, well, hold on here. This is what I need as a coach. So overall, those are just my thoughts on Eden Hazard as a whole. I think a lot of Blues fans echo my thoughts. But yeah, the biggest thing for me is definitely just I don't want him to affect our future transfer plans. A couple other little footnotes here. Andreas Christensen, according to Footy Insider 24/7, says that all parties are positive that a breakthrough will be secured over his new contract, so that would be good. Let's see what else here today. Really nice article from Matt Law today about Romelu Lukaku's signing from Inter Milan. That was good to read. What else? Let's see. The Carabao Cup team of the round: Havertz, Saul, Alonso, and Chalobah were all in this round's team, so that was cool. Almighty Blue says Thiago Silva may return to Fluminense next year. Report said that would be interesting, and I think that just kind of echoes the Christensen deal a little bit more, and just kind of puts an emphasis on continuing to give Trevor Chalobah minutes this season, because I think overall you need to have a lot of depth at center back, and you can't be chopping and changing too many guys moving forward to next season. So if you can sign Rudiger and Silva leaves, that's two massive members of your defense. So having Christensen be able to step into the center will be massive. And then, we got to get a left-sided center back as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Because, if Rudiger does leave and Silva leaves, you'd have to suggest that Christensen and Trev would be starters all the time. Who knows what Azpilicueta would be at in terms of his age and his contract situation as well. So you're looking at Trev at the right, and then Christensen in the middle. Now you got to sign a left-sided center back. And is that Levi Colwill coming up? It could be potentially. A lot of rumors, not just yesterday, but over the last few weeks about Matthias de Ligt. Could be an interesting play. I haven't watched too much of him. I know he's class. I've seen highlights, but in terms of games exactly, I haven't watched too much of him. But I know he is a class player. Eurosport UK said also yesterday that they've been interested in Koundé, as we've heard. De Ligt and Pau Torres has been discussed internally. So we will see what happens in terms of center backs coming in and center backs coming out in the future. It will be a matter of time to discuss that. I can't imagine that there's going to be any moves until the summer. But if you do get a Jules Koundé or Matthias de Ligt in that center back pairing, that back three, you have a lot of youth there, but you have a lot of really promising players. I mean, Christensen's been a top center back in the Premier League all year. Jules Koundé, hasn't really, he's a French international. I'm not too sure how he's doing in Seville this year, but we all know that he's a pretty good player. And Paul Torres is a a veteran as well, so he's someone that I can definitely see Chelsea looking at. Almighty Blues says that he would take De Ligt in a heartbeat, but not at the cost of letting Rudiger go. To be fair, my question is that is, you're lowering your age profile with Rudiger, and I understand Rudiger is such a important psychological member of the squad as well, with his antics and his ability to, stress a defender out, or stress attackers out and whatnot. But my question on that is that, are you willing to pay so much more for him than Matthias de Ligt? I mean, if Rudiger costs more than de Ligt, de Ligt isn't that far. Rudiger was almost out of the squad before Tuchel showed in. So who knows? Who knows what the next year or two is going to look like? I mean, if it's a 5-year contract, those last couple of years for Rudiger might not be as great as you think that they're going to be. It's just, but I'm also saying, well, you know what? De Ligt's first couple of years in the Prem might not be everything that he expects it to be. And he might struggle, but then at the tail end of that contract, he may be really, seasoned in the league and whatnot. And now you're talking, if you could sell him eventually, if he's not someone that you can say, well, he's a Chelsea guy through and through the rest of his career. If you bring De Ligt in, now you're looking at the end of that contract, and maybe he's a $400,000 a week player, and you can sell him and get a good money. But we're all talking hypotheticals here. Almighty Blues says Koundé is not convinced with. I haven't watched enough of him, to be honest with you. I've been kind of bad about it. Seville's not really like my first go-to game, to be honest with you. He says Pau Torres is a good left center back option, and he says Rudiger is in his prime. Silva I can live with leaving. But at the same time with you, like, how much is that drop off from De Ligt to Rudiger? From Rudiger to De Ligt right now, when you can change your age profile, because our team is so young in so many areas, and we're going to be contending for years to come. So, are you saying I would value Rudiger's 3 years, now more importantly than the 3 years after? And you got to win while you can. So I'm with you on that. If we do keep Rudiger, it'll be great. And he is a fantastic Chelsea player. He wears the badge proudly, and he, is the man. I will always remember what he did to Suarez last year in, Hermosa. It was unbelievable to watch. So, so Chelsea perspective still here, but driving. Thank you for checking in, man. I appreciate, everybody that's tuned in thus far. Hasn't been a ton of viewers, but, I was kind of an unexpected live. I was just kind of sitting here. I was playing FIFA, and I'm like, maybe we'll do a little bit of live. Has anyone played FIFA this year? Any thoughts on the game? I've been having a lot of fun with it, to be honest with you. I have a pretty good squad, I think. So it's definitely something, I'm probably trying to get into a little bit of Twitch streaming as well. I got a capture card coming for my PlayStation 5. So I'm probably going to be a little more active on Twitch too, and probably maybe move some of my, live streams and stuff there as well. So it'll be interesting to see for sure. Oh man, FIFA 2013, we got to hook you up, man. We gotta rig a giveaway so you can get the newer one. But 2013 is probably good. I can tell you what, Chelsea's probably got a really good team in that, to be honest with you. Anyways, so that was our kind of just breakdown of all the Chelsea news and all a little bit of Newcastle talk before. Surely I'll be back. I am going to be having let's see here. On Sunday, I am going to be having Brittany Zimmerman on Sunday. We're going to be talking Newcastle post-match review. She is absolutely awesome on Twitter, so if you go ahead and give her a follow if you don't already. She is great, to be real with you. So we will have her on for the Newcastle match review. I will try to get to you tomorrow for a little bit of after the Tuchel press conference. We'll talk a little bit about that, maybe do another live and kind of get some live reactions from that. So That'll be great. Well, thank you everybody for checking in. As always, please go ahead and subscribe. Please hit that like button. Tell your friends about the show. It would be fantastic if we could get, some more views and some more people on these live streams. We can really stir up the debate. But thank you for those who did decide to tune in on a short notice. So, and go ahead and follow me on Twitter too. That's the easiest way to connect with me if you'd like to connect and chat about anything Chelsea or whatever related. To be honest with you, my DMs are always open. So please go ahead and do that. And we will talk to you very soon. All right. Thank you.